Hi, I'm Gabe Pinchev, CEO of FieldPulse.
Hi, I'm Caleb Ingraham, CEO of North Seattle Handyman.
And today we want to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of handyman versus being a general contractor. And uniquely, we have Caleb with us who does both. And so we wanted to learn a little bit about the pros and cons of each and why someone would go into one or the other.
Yeah. So when I first started my business, I chose to be a general contractor because a general contractor is capable of doing a little bit more than a handyman. A handyman license is very limited, and it's not that much more expensive to get a general contractor's license. You might have to take a 2-day class in some states, but it's not all that difficult.
Yeah, so ultimately you started as a general contractor and then you do handyman jobs. So handyman jobs are typically smaller jobs, maybe done within a day, and general contractor projects can be longer. So let's start with the quoting process, because I know on the handyman side you actually use a streamlined digital process, but on the general contractor side you do not. Can you talk a little bit more about the pros and cons of the time and effort and energy that goes into that?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I would say is that handyman work is simple, repeatable, trainable, and profitable. Um, when you get into the larger projects, it's a little bit harder to train somebody else to do. I also found throughout doing both of them that I ended up making more money doing the handyman work, and I had happier customers. So I leaned into the handyman part of it because as I was looking at the numbers, I realized that I had a better time doing it. I enjoyed it more. In addition to my customers were a lot happier because instead of me being there for 2 or 3 weeks in their kitchen, I was there for a day and I solved a bunch of their problems, and they were just happier, and that made me happier. But I've always been a remodel contractor, so I always just had a toe dipped in that, and I would take the occasional small kitchen or small remodel.
So, which space do you feel has more competition in your market? Are there more handyman competitors or more general contractor competitors?
By far, general contractors. You could throw a rock and hit a general contractor. It's still hard to find them, but because so many people are doing construction in my market in particular. But it's really hard to find a good handyman. It's really hard to find someone who will do the small jobs that isn't like a Craigslist kind of $25 an hour kind of person. When I started leaning into it, I got so much feedback from customers saying, I can't believe I found someone that could just come to my house and fix my leaky faucet, replace a light fixture, do a drywall repair, replace a little bit of baseboards, and tune up my door. Like, that is so cool, and that made me feel good. And as I was like going through it, I realized I could charge a premium for that service because there were not that many people who had my skill set that could also communicate and use the software that I use.
Is it harder to charge a premium as a general contractor, and or is there more pricing pressure when doing contractor projects rather than short-term handyman projects?
I think so. So in essence, like if you were to break a larger project into smaller units, if you base it off my price point for handyman work, it gets really expensive really quickly. So a kitchen remodel gets into the $50,000, the $60,000 range really, really quickly. As opposed to when you're doing a day's worth of work, like it's $1,000. And most people have $1,000 to spend. Most people have that room in their budget. Now, my price per unit is a little bit higher, but the amount that I end up charging them for whatever service I'm providing is affordable.
Mhm. So you've moved to a unique system where you're actually doing online quoting for your handyman company where you're getting fixed bids. But previously, when you did time and materials or hourly work, did people typically already hire you out the door and you're ready to go versus maybe in the construction side, you were coming out, doing a free estimate, providing a bid, and having a competitive situation? How did the competitive nature differ between the two? And is that a much better experience for you in terms of cost and time on the handyman side, or does it end up evening out with the number of jobs you have to do?
So from a bidding perspective, the nice part about handyman work is that you can kind of silo each skill set, like so door repair, drywall repair, baseboard and trim repair. And then you can sort of make some assumptions and make those a little bit easier. It's kind of like a one-click button that I like. I see what I have, and I can make a one-click button that already auto-populates my my quote system, as opposed to a bigger project where that's a lot more complicated because you're bringing in a lot of different things. So like you don't really have that same one-click ability.
So I want to talk a little bit about the team and adding people. That's one of the hardest things to do. How does it differ hiring for handyman work versus the construction work? Is one easier? Is one cheaper? How does that compare?
Hiring is challenging across the board, but I would say that the major difference between the two is that on the handyman side, if you silo into these little groups, it's a lot easier to train someone to install doors than to be able to do a full kitchen remodel. Mm-hmm. A full kitchen remodel, you're forced into having like a very high skill set person,
or hiring subs,
and
then you're dishing that out to other companies and relying.
That's
on that.
right, and I'm taking less. Basically, I'm making less money off the subs than I would be my own in-house employees.
Yeah. Have you ever considered doing a specialty contractor, or is there a certain type of remodeling and construction work that you'd like to focus in on and do just those? And would you get some of the mix of the two, or is that a different ballgame for you?
So for me in my business, I brought on a business partner, and what our concept was we're going to train my business partner to take over the handyman side of things. And he was going to train all of our handymen, and they would be doing that part of the work. Yeah. And then I was going to take over the small remodel stuff. There actually is a really good market, in my opinion, for like kitchen flips, bathroom flips, where you're not like moving structure or doing additions. Okay. I think that the two can work really well together, but they are extremely different, and it's almost two different divisions of a company that can work well together. So some of the problems with handyman work is it can be challenging to get exactly 8 hours of work for a handyman because it's kind of job dependent, right? And so you might have a 6-hour job that could turn into 8 or could turn into 5.
So how many billable hours do you say you average in the handyman side per day?
Per day, we shoot for between 6 and 7 billable hours per employee.
Okay.
I would say that our average is in the neighborhood of 6.
Okay, because I've seen in other industries like HVAC, plumbing, electrical, it's maybe in the closer to 4 to 5. Are you able to get more half-day, full-day jobs, and is that why you're able to get that kind of billable rate?
Yeah, we experimented a lot, for one thing, but if we're going to break it up into small jobs, we will do 3 2-hour jobs, and then there'll be like maybe an hour in between each one of those. Or we'll offer like a half day or a full day punch list. That way we get paid for our half day or a full day. It makes it easier to schedule, and it makes us a little bit more profitable. While we're talking about scheduling is the most challenging part of having a handyman business because you have so many jobs.
And it's more difficult on the handyman side because of how many jobs, moving parts, you're constantly coordinating with.
Yeah, that is the friction in that part of the business, and that is one of the ways that we really powerfully use the FieldPulse system. Is your scheduling system is all built in, so we've really used that well.
So at a similar size relative of a handyman business and a contractor business, would you say the handyman business might need an admin support earlier on to help with those elements, while that might not be as necessary on the contractor side?
In my personal opinion, hire an admin as quickly as you can.
Regardless of the two.
Regardless of the two. So one of my things that I really care about is do what you're good at. I'm a craftsman. I'm a tradesman. I'm not great at admin work. So I would advise anybody to bring in an admin as soon as possible. What you realize is that they're going to be a lot better at that job than you are, a lot faster at that job than you are, and it will free you up to do what is your actual job, which is either managing your team or creating revenue.
So for back to personnel.
Sure.
And I realize on the contracting side, sometimes you're subbing stuff out.
Sure.
But for the stuff that's in-house, how does the personnel differ? And on the handyman side, do you need someone who's more suitable for customer interaction versus on the contractor side, because that might be more managed by someone else?
To some extent, like you need one person in a big kitchen remodel. You might have 4 or 5 people in there, depending on the size or scope of the work. You need one person to communicate with customers. On the handyman side, you're usually sending one person out. So every one of those people has to be able to interface with the customer. Whereas in a remodel, you can hire one person that, like, some of you guys are going to interact with our customer, and some of you are going to say, that's a great question, you should ask Tim that.
And you'll probably find that some of the team members don't want to interact with customers.
100%.
Or they can't, they're really bad at it, or they might not even speak the local language either.
Yeah. So we have
Especially in Texas.
hired. So in Texas, I'm sure there's a big Hispanic population. In the Seattle area, we have a pretty decent size, like Ukrainian, Russian population, and some of those people, they can kind of speak English, but like the language barrier is definitely there, and it's a little bit more challenging to interface with customers. We also have a healthy Hispanic culture in Seattle. So there is some of that you have to deal with.
All right. So final question. If you had to make a choice, handyman business or contractor business?
So my name is North Seattle Handyman. So I love the handyman business. The remodel side has a lot of pluses, but I love the flexibility of being a handyman. I can be a one-person handyman, and I can have a great lifestyle. If I want to lean into my lifestyle, I can just be myself, and I can grow into whatever I want to do. Once you decide you want to be a remodeler, like you have to put a little bit more money and resources into that.